So, what are the wins of your instructional design journey? So, when should you start applying? So, I compiled a list of a lot of the job titles I saw as I started applying, and I'm still in the application process. But I'd start asking yourself, have you browsed many job ads to see what are the minimum skill sets? Do you have any transferable skills already? Do the job duties sound interesting to you? And have you seen a dream job yet? I mentioned these at the start because I think we can sometimes fall into a trap when you see a job that sounds really cool or is really a buzzword, but making sure that it's actually a good fit for us. I'll talk a little bit about how that happened with me when I thought about going into computer programming. As you get further in, you may then start narrowing down specific jobs to search for. Right now, I'm not doing that as much. I was early on just to see what kind of jobs were out there based on these titles. But right now, I've been focused more on kind of building my skills, and also I just kind of take the jobs that LinkedIn and Indeed recommends to me, and if one sounds really good, I apply. So I'm not applying in earnest yet. I still feel like I'm narrowing down. Do I want to be more in corporate or academics, or do I want to do more freelance work? You may have a very specific opinion on that already, especially given things like pay scale or versus wanting to work for yourself or someone else. But it takes some time for some of us to figure that out. Now, ask yourself about your resume or your CV. Is it condensed? Is it in instructional design terms? What can you do to update that? Or do you have someone who could look at it for you? You also want to start thinking about your LinkedIn page if you do not have one already, as well as a personal website or portfolio. Now, I don't feel like you need to do a whole lot with the portfolio, especially early on if you're not applying in earnest, but it's a good idea to start practicing and figuring out a good way to design it for you. I'm just using Google Sites right now, for example, and I haven't registered a domain name. And I've gotten some interviews. So it depends on how far you want to take that process early on. But start thinking about each of these things as you're starting to apply. Now, when should you actually start applying? That's really a personal, choice, I think. I'm coming out of higher education, but I've also have background in insurance and other kinds of legal work. So I feel like I can start arguing more about transferable skills from teaching and my corporate work. So I do apply as jobs come in. And I've been doing so for about 2 months. But I am not doing it in earnest because I am working more right now on upskilling. So I really only apply for jobs that really sound interesting as I start to figure out exactly what my passion is and what my purpose is. For me, part of this is that I love working with people to help them learn. I've always been a fan of reading and writing and kind of compiling and pulling all of those things together. And I want to help people do that. And that can take many different forms. So for you, what does that look like? So with that upskilling, I've listed a few here. But you want to start thinking about what you already have. So kind of do a skills inventory for yourself. I think it can be good to even list yourself as, am I a beginner, intermediate, advanced? For example, now I've tried out Camtasia, and I would say beginner because I've really just used it a couple of times. I'm using this different software through Storyline to make this video, and I'd say I'm getting maybe advanced beginner on Storyline itself, but I haven't done Rise yet. And this is my only time doing a video so far. So doing that for yourself can help you as you start deciding which things and which areas to focus on. Also, what are you most drawn to in the job ads? If I'm reading one and it's too deep into let's say the graphic design area where I'm not as strong right now. Maybe I'll take a step back from that position and say, okay, that's something I need to work on more, or is that not an area I want to focus on? You're going to see some jobs that kind of want you to do all aspects of the instructional design process, and you should know something about all of the different areas, but deciding on, kind of what your expertise is within those areas can also be good as you're going through those ads. Coming back again to the corporate, academic, or contract, but also analyze yourself as a learner. How do you learn best? Are you going to be better with tutorials? Do you need feedback from somebody? So that may draw you more to taking a class, or do you work well from books? Also, getting an idea of knowing your limits is really important. I mentioned that I looked into programming. I also looked a little into a lot of areas as I narrowed down. I've always had instructional design at the back of my mind since at least 2014, maybe even far back as 2012. But I looked at different areas. Like I like some aspects of programming. However, as I went through some Coursera work that I did, I discovered it wasn't quite something I'd want to do just as that as my only job. So I kind of hit a wall there. And sometimes it can be difficult to know if you've hit a wall or if you've hit a molehill and you can get over it. But try and assess yourself as a learner with that as well. And start coming up with a plan and a timeline for yourself. Mine, I have to admit, has been a little bit loose right now. But ultimately, you know, I'm looking for a good remote position. I know that much at least. And I'd like to do something within the next 6 months or so, but I'm keeping myself open. So when should you start connecting with other people? That's probably something you can start doing no matter where you are in the process by starting small. Try different things out. Try as much free content as you can. Get in on LinkedIn. Early on, I looked at Facebook groups. Didn't see much as in Twitter. I've enjoyed a lot that I found on YouTube, on Slack. I've seen some people doing Discord. I forgot to list Reddit here. I check that once in a while. But with that is always thinking about cost and content. So is there good quality content? Is there some free content? Is everything charged, something that you would be charged for? You want some of a balance. I came from a writing background as a freelancer, and everybody out there is going to have some content for free so that you can get a feel for what that person's like. So you want to look at it and look at the quality. I won't name names, but I remember going to one person's website who had videos talking about their experience with instructional design, kind of wanting to be a coach for people. Yet there were a lot of errors on the website itself. And we all have some of those, but to have that much content, several different videos that all had the same kind of errors, like not updating the description of the video, links that didn't work, that would pause me from wanting to continue further into hiring you to help me with more work. And with that, you want to start thinking for yourself, what is your time and investment? Think of yourself as a project, right? How much time do I have to put in? Do I have any money to put in? You know, not everybody does. That's definitely an issue of privilege. So think for yourself what you want to invest in this whole process. But definitely look at the free stuff first before you even think about doing that. If you can, as you start connecting, can you find somebody to kind of be a partner with you in your journey? And they don't have to necessarily be in the same field, but somebody you can bounce ideas off of. And kind of all of this comes back to being the learner yourself. Immerse yourself in the community and start asking questions, start connecting. But it is a community. So I say that as a reminder to give and take. So you don't want to just take. Yes, you're wanting to find a job, and yes, there's a lot of people out there providing content. But remember, at some point, you're going to be on that other side, and you'd want to have the same. You know, it's a two-way street. Also think about adjacent jobs. You know, I told you I looked at programming, I looked into data analytics, project management, UI, UX, but I always kept coming back to instructional design, so it is my primary focus. But sometimes you'll see that jobs that overlap, and you may want to get like a free trial to Coursera, or again, more on that LinkedIn learning free stuff. If I didn't talk about that yet, get in there with, sometimes you can get free access through your library and do some training and look at, not always just look at one area, kind of look at where the other fields overlap. And think again about what is your goal and your ultimate dream. Are you just wanting to, you know, I hear a lot of people wanting to get out of the classroom, but why? And that can be a good way to do that, is that why question. So why do I want to leave? And kind of take it down at least 5 levels and say why? Until you kind of really can get at the heart of why you're trying to do this. Like for me, when I think about this, I want to work remotely because it's something I've always enjoyed doing, because then I can still collaborate with people or work in a hybrid environment. I can continue working with learners and working with writing, design, all these things that I'm really interested in doing. And also maybe have a decent paycheck that maybe I wasn't getting even working in higher ed. But for me, the paycheck isn't the biggest goal, so I have some flexibility there, especially starting out. So what else should I cover in this series? I'm kind of thinking of where might be the next area to explore as I go through my who, what, when, where, why, how, etc. But let me know if there's things that you would like me to cover or questions that you have about the content here. And our lovely images are from unsplash.com and the artist Brett Jordan. Good luck with your search, and I'll be here to chat about it.